Have you ever wondered if your body or the body of someone you love is quietly sending signals that the end of life may be near? As someone who has lived through 9 decades of life, I've seen it more times than I care to count. Friends, loved ones, neighbors, many of them showed signs long before their final days. But the truth is, most people miss them, not out of ignorance, but because they didn't know what to look for. Today, I want to share 7 powerful warning signs that doctors often recognize as clear indicators a senior may be entering their final months. These are not just signs of aging. These are serious physical, emotional, and behavioral changes that deserve your full attention. And yes, they are frightening. But it's better to face them with clarity than be blindsided by what's to come. This is not about giving up hope. It's about awareness, compassion, and preparation. Let us begin. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Drastic weight loss without explanation. There's something unsettling about watching the numbers on the scale drop, especially when you haven't changed your eating habits or lifestyle. For many seniors, weight loss may seem like a welcome surprise, perhaps even a relief after years of battling stubborn pounds. But when those pounds melt away without cause, it may be a silent scream from within, a hidden warning that something far more serious is unfolding. You see, the human body is remarkably honest. As we age, it whispers before it shouts. Unintentional weight loss, particularly in older adults, is one of those whispers that far too many of us overlook. It doesn't always come with pain or fever or dramatic symptoms. It's quiet, slow, even subtle. One day your favorite sweater feels a bit looser. Next month you're tightening your belt to the last notch. And yet you're not trying to lose weight at all. For seniors, this can be one of the earliest physical indicators that the body is entering a state of decline. It may suggest that major organs like the liver, kidneys, or heart are no longer functioning at full capacity. It might point to a slow-growing cancer, chronic malabsorption, or advanced conditions like COPD or heart failure. More often than not, it's the result of the body struggling to maintain balance, slowly breaking down muscle and fat in an effort to survive. What makes this sign so dangerous is that it's easy to dismiss. Friends might say, "You're looking great," when in truth, your body is growing weaker. You may find yourself lacking the strength to carry groceries or struggling to get up from a chair. What seems like mere aging might actually be the body surrendering, quietly stepping back from life. And yet, weight loss is rarely just physical. It's emotional. It strips not only the body, but also the spirit. Meals become smaller, interest in food fades, and what once brought joy, family dinners, sweet treats, warm soups, feels more like a chore than a pleasure. If you or someone you love has been losing weight without reason, don't wait. Don't write it off. It may be the body's way of saying, pay attention. Because what comes next can be even more alarming. When the fatigue sets in, not just in the body, but deep in the soul. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Extreme fatigue and withdrawal from life. There's a kind of tiredness that sleep can't touch. It seeps into the bones, into the heart, into the very spirit of a person. For many older adults nearing the end of life, this is more than just fatigue. It's a profound exhaustion that signals something deeper, something the body can no longer hide. You may notice it slowly, like a dimming light, The person who once loved gardening now stares quietly out the window. The one who used to wake early, eager to make coffee and read the paper, now sleeps through most of the day. Invitations go unanswered. Phone calls are ignored. Conversations grow shorter, then fade. What looks like disinterest is often the body and mind preparing to retreat, to conserve energy for the battle it knows it can no longer win. This withdrawal isn't just physical, it's emotional, even spiritual. Seniors entering this phase may begin to lose interest in the very things that once gave them purpose: family gatherings, hobbies, old routines. They may stop asking questions, stop planning, stop dreaming. And while this change may seem subtle at first, it can escalate quickly, leaving loved ones confused and concerned. The danger here lies not in the tiredness itself, but in what it represents. Extreme fatigue is often a sign that vital systems are slowing down. The heart may be struggling to pump efficiently. The lungs may not be delivering enough oxygen. The brain may be starved of the clarity it once had. This type of exhaustion isn't fixed with a nap or a good night's sleep. It is a signal that the body is quietly stepping away from life's demands. Loved ones may try to encourage engagement, to reignite old passions, but often the person no longer has the strength or the will to respond. It can be heartbreaking to witness. Yet, this withdrawal is not always a sign of giving up. Sometimes it is the body's quiet preparation for what lies ahead. And just when you think it can't get more troubling, something even more unsettling may begin to surface. When breathing itself becomes a struggle, even in moments of stillness. 3. Shortness of breath, even while resting. There comes a moment when breathing, something we've done without thought our entire lives, suddenly becomes a conscious effort. For many seniors nearing their final months, this change is not just alarming, it's deeply unsettling. Shortness of breath, especially when it occurs during rest, is one of the body's most urgent distress signals. It is as if each breath must be earned, as though the air itself has grown heavier, harder to draw in. It might begin subtly, a quiet wheeze when lying down, a sense of tightness in the chest when speaking too long. But over time, these episodes can grow more frequent, more intense, and harder to ignore. You may notice the shoulders lifting with every inhale, or a sudden pause in the middle of a sentence to catch the breath that just won't come. What was once easy, reading aloud, laughing, even eating, now requires effort. This is not the kind of breathlessness that comes after a brisk walk or climbing stairs. This is different. It often lingers even in stillness. The lungs may no longer be moving oxygen efficiently into the bloodstream. Fluid might be building silently in the chest. The heart, weary and overworked, may be pumping with less force. These internal changes don't always announce themselves with pain. Instead, they whisper through every gasp, through every pause that shouldn't be there. Emotionally, this symptom takes a toll. Struggling to breathe is frightening. It creates anxiety, restlessness, and a deep sense of vulnerability. Many seniors describe it as feeling trapped inside their own bodies, aware of their surroundings, but unable to respond without discomfort or fear. For families, witnessing this can be heartbreaking. You want to help? You reach for a fan, adjust a pillow, offer water, but sometimes nothing truly eases the struggle, and that helplessness cuts deep. When the breath begins to falter, it is often the body's way of saying that its reserves are running low, that the systems we rely on without thinking are no longer keeping pace with life. But as the breath grows shallower, something else may begin to appear more often too. Frequent infections, unexplained fevers, and the quiet return of the hospital gown. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Recurring infections or hospitalizations. There's a moment, often quiet and unnoticed, when the body begins to lose its ability to defend itself. For many seniors, this moment becomes visible through a string of repeated infections or hospital stays that feel more frequent with each passing month. What once was a simple cold now lingers. A bladder infection returns again despite medication. A chest cough never fully goes away. And slowly, patterns begin to form. An emergency room visit here, a brief hospital stay there, and then another one and another. At first, we may explain it away. It's just the season, or they've been pushing themselves too hard. But when these episodes become regular, when recovery grows slower and complications more severe, it's time to ask the harder questions. Why is this happening again? And why does each infection seem to take more out of them than the last? The immune system, once a strong defender, becomes weaker with age. But in the final stages of life, it may be barely functioning at all. What was once routine, the body fighting off bacteria or viruses, becomes a monumental task. Seniors may develop pneumonia without ever leaving the house. A small cut can lead to a dangerous wound. Even the most common infection can spiral into confusion, fever, weakness, or sepsis. And each hospital visit is not just about physical strain. It takes a toll on the mind, the spirit, and the will to keep fighting. Loved ones begin to notice it too. The recovery that used to take days now takes weeks. Medications seem less effective. The hospital discharges grow shorter, while the admissions grow longer. And the unspoken fear begins to rise. What if the next infection is the one they can't come back from? Still, many seniors push through quietly, with dignity and grace. They smile through discomfort, hold on to routines, and hope for better days. But these repeated infections are more than just unfortunate events. They're often the body's way of showing its struggle, of signaling that its strength is fading. And just as the body begins to battle these external intruders, something more intimate and perhaps more unsettling may begin to slip. The clarity of the mind, the sharpness of thought, the very sense of self. 5. Significant mental confusion or disorientation. There is something uniquely painful about watching a sharp, thoughtful mind begin to flicker like a light, unsure if it wants to stay on. For those of us who have lived long and full lives, our memories become our most treasured possessions, snapshots of love, laughter, lessons learned, and people we've held dear. So when confusion begins to quietly take the place of clarity, it can feel like losing a part of the soul. Significant mental confusion or disorientation in older adults isn't just about forgetting a name or misplacing keys. It's something deeper, something that unsettles both the person experiencing it and the people who love them. A once confident mother may suddenly forget where she is or who she's talking to. A proud grandfather might stare blankly at his reflection, unsure if the face in the mirror is his own. The confusion can come in waves, some days more lucid than others, but over time, it begins to take hold, and the moments of clarity become fewer, more fragile. This decline isn't always tied to dementia alone. Often it's the result of the body failing internally, kidney or liver dysfunction releasing toxins into the bloodstream, depriving the brain of its clean fuel. Infections like UTIs or pneumonia, common in seniors, can trigger sudden delirium. Oxygen levels may dip quietly, and the mind begins to feel foggy, disconnected. Time becomes slippery. Faces seem unfamiliar. Even the most routine tasks, buttoning a shirt, using a fork, recognizing a spouse can become foreign territory. For families, it can be heartbreaking. You try to remind them gently of where they are or who you are. You hope they will return to themselves, even if just for a moment. And sometimes they do. But sometimes that version of them you once knew so well, the storyteller, the advice giver, the strong-willed presence in the room, fades behind a veil of confusion they cannot lift. Still, it's important to know this confusion is not a failure of character, nor is it a sign of weakness. It's the mind's way of signaling that something deeper is shifting. The body and brain, once so tightly linked, begin to fall out of rhythm. The person may feel afraid, unsettled, or strangely calm. There may be moments of agitation where they lash out, or periods of stillness where they simply stare off, lost in a world only they can see. These moments, as painful as they are, offer us the chance to slow down and meet our loved ones where they are, not where we wish they still were. To hold their hands, even if they no longer recognize ours. To speak softly, even if they no longer respond. To honor the soul that still resides within, even if the mind has begun to drift. And as the mind begins to fade, the body often follows with its own quiet messages. When food no longer satisfies, and the appetite for life itself begins to dim. 6. Decreased appetite and refusal to eat or drink. There's something deeply unsettling about watching someone you love push away their plate, not because they're full or because they don't like the meal, but because they simply no longer feel the need to eat. For many older adults nearing the end of life, food, the very thing that once brought comfort, tradition, and joy, begins to lose all meaning. Meals become smaller. Sips of water grow fewer. Eventually, even favorites, warm soup, soft bread, a bite of something sweet, are politely refused or left untouched. To the family, this can feel like rejection. Don't you want to eat just a little? You need your strength. The instinct to nourish someone we care about runs deep. Food is love. Food is connection. So when someone begins turning it away, we often react with fear or frustration. But the truth is, this change isn't stubbornness or sadness. It's physiological. It's the body's quiet signal that it is preparing to shut down. In the final phase of life, the body no longer processes food and water in the same way. The digestive system slows. Metabolism drops. Hunger fades. Forcing food in this stage can actually bring discomfort, nausea, bloating, or pain. Even water, something so simple, can become difficult to swallow. The body is redirecting its limited energy toward keeping vital organs functioning until it can no longer do even that. Emotionally, this change marks a shift as well. The act of sharing meals becomes less frequent. Kitchen conversations grow quiet. Family traditions that once centered around food feel different, almost hollow. And for the person experiencing this loss of appetite, it may feel like a final letting go, not just of nourishment, but of the daily rituals that once shaped their days. And yet, in this deeply vulnerable time, there is still room for connection. Even if the food is no longer wanted, the presence of a loved one at the bedside matters. The gesture of offering a spoonful, the warmth of holding a hand, the patience to sit in silence. These things nourish the spirit in ways that food no longer can. It's in these moments that many families begin to understand the journey is entering its final chapter. There's no schedule, no exact timeline, but when the body says no more, we must learn to listen. We must honor it gently and without resistance. And sometimes, as the physical body winds down, another change becomes visible, more subtle, but just as profound. A shift in the skin, a cooling of the hands, a blue tinge in the fingertips, unmistakable signs that the end may be closer than we dare to admit. 7. Changes in skin color, cold extremities, or abnormal vital signs. There comes a moment, often late in the journey, when the body speaks in silence. No words, no symptoms you can fix with medicine or warmth. Instead, the signs become visible, undeniable. Changes in skin tone, the chill of hands that once held yours with warmth, or the quiet irregularity of a heartbeat that has carried a person through a lifetime. These signs, though often subtle at first, are among the clearest indicators that the body is nearing its final goodbye. You may begin to notice the fingertips turning pale or slightly bluish. The feet may grow colder, even when covered. The skin may appear mottled, almost like a watercolor fading into dusk. These changes are not simply about blood circulation. They are the body's natural response to its final shift. Blood is being redirected inward to protect the most essential organs, and the outer parts, hands, feet, even lips, begin to reflect that quiet transition. Pulse rates may slow or become oddly fast and irregular. Blood pressure may drop lower than it's ever been. Breathing patterns change, long pauses between breaths, or moments of deep, labored inhalation followed by silence. These rhythms are not always alarming in appearance, but to those who know, they speak volumes. For family and caregivers, this phase is one of deep emotional weight. There's often a sense of helplessness. You see the signs, you feel the shift in the air, and you know something sacred is happening, something final. And yet, there can still be beauty in these moments, a chance to sit quietly, to hold a hand without the need for words, to simply be there, present, in love and reverence. These physical signs are not signs of suffering, they are signs of transition. The body, in its wisdom, is letting go. It's not fighting anymore, it's easing into stillness. And while it may seem like a dark and fearful time, it can also be one of grace, of peace, of release. What matters most in these moments is not what you say, but how you stay. Stay close, stay gentle, stay aware that you are witnessing one of life's most sacred thresholds. And now, as the signs settle and the body prepares to return to stillness, we're left with the question that lives in every heart, watching from the bedside. What do we do with the time that's left? What does it mean to live fully, even when the end is near? The final chapter: Embracing life with clarity, courage, and love. There comes a point in life when we must stop measuring time in years and begin measuring it in moments. The journey through aging is not always gentle, and when the signs begin to appear, those quiet shifts in appetite, energy, breath, or memory, they often carry with them a truth that's hard to face, that the road ahead may be shorter than the one behind. But recognizing these signs isn't about giving up. It's not surrender, it's love, it's compassion. It's the willingness to see clearly, even when the truth is heavy. When we acknowledge that a loved one may be nearing their final months, or even when we recognize it within ourselves, we are not abandoning hope. We are opening the door to something far more meaningful: presence. Because what matters most in these sacred months is not how long we have, but how deeply we live. It's in the whispered conversations, the quiet hand-holding, the shared memories retold one more time. It's in forgiveness, in closure, in saying what was never said. When we stop fighting time and start embracing the life that remains, even if it's fragile, we allow something truly beautiful to unfold. The lesson in all of this, perhaps the greatest one of all, is that death is not the enemy. Silence is. Avoidance is. The real tragedy is not in dying, but in leaving important things unsaid, in ignoring the signs and pretending we have all the time in the world. So let us listen, really listen, to what the body is telling us. Let us face these signs with courage and tenderness, not fear. Let us prepare, not because we are afraid, but because we want to live the remaining days, weeks, or months with purpose, clarity, and dignity. And when the time comes, let it not be marked by confusion or regret, but by love, by grace, and by the quiet knowing that we lived and let go, with eyes wide open, hearts full, and nothing left unsaid. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with senior health tips. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.